Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm doing good, Shubhendu.
Yes. Actually, I met you earlier when I was in Vishwabharat and you were in Tractor India in
Acha, okay.
Agorpara plant that time, probably.
Okay.
Okay. So we will wait for another 3-4 minutes.
Sure.
Just dot at 5 we will start.
Okay. Absolutely fine.
Okay. And Dr. Shuman Kumar Daw, he is our principal, Calcutta Business School. He also present and our colleague are also there.
Hello. Yes. I am in a meeting. I am meeting.
Good evening, Professor Daw.
Sir, you will come here and good evening. This is just 5. So we are going to start that on behalf of Calcutta Business School, a unit of Shikshayatan Foundation. We have already started an initiative to organize a series of webinars on different relevant topic, which is urgent need of the day, and for which we have invited a number of distinguished guests who are having experience in academia and industries both to empower us with their valuable knowledge. Today, our guest of honor, Mr. Sujoy Banerjee, having vast experience, I will introduce him to you later on. Before that, I request Professor Dr. Shuman Kumar Daw, Principal in Charge, Calcutta Business School, to address this august presence as his welcome address. Professor Daw, please.
Good evening, students and professors of Calcutta Business School and the other students from reputed management institutes. It is my pleasure to welcome everyone in our webinar on managing people in post-pandemic era. The resource person for this webinar is Mr. Sujoy Banerjee, Group Chief People Officer and Head Marketing, Gainwell Commercials Private Limited. I like to extend a special welcome to our guest of honor and resource person, Mr. Sujoy Banerjee, who will deliver his lecture on managing people in post-pandemic era. I'd like also to extend welcome to our advisors, Shiksha Foundation, Mr. Saurav Ghosh and Mrs. Dr. Bhatute Bhattacharya, Secretary General, Shiksha Foundation, who will be joining in this webinar. I also extend my sincere regards Professor Subhendu Majumdar, who will be the moderator and will moderate this session.
Sir, please unmute yourself.
Sir, you are not audible.
Don sir, you got muted.
Or should I repeat it again? It was not. Whatever I delivered, did you listen all these things?
Yes, sir. Only a small portion was. It was not audible, but it's fine.
I also extend my sincere regards Professor Subhendu Majumdar, who will be moderator and moderate this session. In post-pandemic time, it is crucial that business focus on the well-being of their people.
Sir, you got muted again, sir.
Keeping morale high can be difficult in these challenging times. As humans, we all need their social interaction, sense of belonging, and shared identity that has been put under pressure by lockdown. As the economy emerges from the gloom of the pandemic, business leaders must face up to the prospect that a large proportion of their colleagues may want to continue work at least part of the time out of the office. When managing a workforce at a distance, it is vital that leaders keep in frequent contact with the stakeholders, embrace technology, monitor and respond to the well-being of their employees. By doing so, they will be able to reap the benefits, including increased productivity, improved employees, morale and enhanced efficiency. Now we want to, from this lecture session, we'll get more knowledge, and also we can also enhance our knowledge domain. The webinar titled as Managing People in Post-Pandemic Era. We want to learn more things from our expert, Mr. Sujoy Banerjee. Over to Professor Subhendu Majumdar. Thank you very much. I welcome all in this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Don, Principal in Charge, Calcutta Business School, for his welcome address. Now, I am very glad to introduce Mr. Sujoy Banerjee, a brief profile. It is very Herculean task to introduce Sujoy Banerjee because he has a vast experience. From where I can start, I can't I feel hesitant to introduce him, but I need to introduce as a professional. He is basically known by his name only. So Mr. Banerjee is HR professional with 30 years of experience across industries like automobile, tire, chemicals, gases, consumer goods, industrial products, IT, pharmaceuticals, infrastructure and construction. And already Dr. Da has told, he is currently the Group Chief People Officer and Head Marketing of Gainwell Commercials Private Limited. He is postgraduate from Xavier's Institute of Social Science and recipient of NIPM Silver Medal. He is also a certified executive coach from Coaching Foundation, India. During the course of his professional journey, he had hands-on experience in industrial relation in multiple union environment and entire bandwidth of HR processes, and had played a major role in organizational transformation, managing change, which is a very essential criteria of our management perspective in people management in various spheres. He started his career in 1990 with Tata Motors Limited at Jamshedpur, and since then has worked in various capacities in organizations like Dunlop, ICI, Philips, Eveready, and many other companies. He has been a visiting faculty on organizational behavior at business schools in Calcutta, a member of the interview panel in various management institutes across the country for selection of students. I am also one of the speakers at various national seminars, conferences on HR across the country on various contemporary HR issues. He is a member of the CII Eastern Region and Subcommittee on HR and IR. He has served as the president of NHRDN Kolkata chapter between 2008 and 2014. He was conferred many awards. One of few are HR Leadership Award in the Asia Pacific HRM Congress 2012, HR Professional of the Year Award in India, Human Capital Award December 2012, HR Leadership Award by Institute of Public Enterprise in Global HR Excellence Award in World HRD Congress, CHRO of the Year, HR through Leader, Thought Leader, Change and Transformation Award by World HRD Congress in June 2013, awarded 100 Most Influential Global HR Professional, very prestigious award by HRD Congress in February 2016, 100 Top HR Minds in India by World HRD Congress in February 2018, Sustainable HR Leader by World HRD Congress in February 2020, and CHRO of the Year awarded by World HRD Congress in February 2021. So I have just in nutshell briefed his profile. I have already told, I am constrained to say that many achievements he already had with him. So basically it is a short profile, just I have told, and he is the right person who will introduce the topic today that we have chosen for our discussion, managing people in post-pandemic era. And last few days I was studying that many of the articles, research work already published going on by Harvard Business Review and also the McKinsey, there are other agencies they are doing that the entire world is basically the grappling with the different challenges that are coming out of these COVID-19 issues. So we will not take much time in such a introduction part. So I will over to Mr. Banerjee. So Mr. Banerjee, already you are formally welcomed by our principal. Again, I extend my heartfelt welcome again in this beautiful evening. Yes, session to you.
Mr. Banerjee, Siddharth Sengupta here. We met earlier. Welcome to Calcutta Business School again. We had been colleagues in Philips as well. So nice to see you again. Thank you so much. Please.
Thank you. Thank you, Shubhendu. Thank you, Professor Daw. Thank you, Mr. Sengupta. A very good evening to all the bright young minds of Calcutta Business School, esteemed faculty, and students from other business schools who would have joined this session today evening. Who could have thought about a year back that we would be talking to each other on a virtual platform. Came March 24th, 2020, the world experienced one of its worst and rarest misfortunes, I would say, because when pandemic hit us across the world, we did not know what we were in for. We had the first, what should I say, a Jan Hartal sort of a thing where the Prime Minister of this country wanted us to stay indoors for one day. He was actually preparing us for this extended lockdown, which started around the end of March. When we started this lockdown, hardly did we envisage that our lives would change so much. We thought it'll get over in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Viral fever, it's viral infection. How long can it stay? 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks? Time went on. Time started extending. And it was not only India. It started in a small city of Wuhan in China. It spread like wildfire across the world. And we were not left alone. So it was not India which suffered. It happened globally, from far end of Africa to New Zealand to Australia, wherever you call, the world has been affected by this virus called coronavirus or SARS-19, COVID-19. Organizations were not prepared for it. Organizations have not experienced it. The Spanish flu happened in the early part of the 19th century, where organizations operate in a different way. So most of us did not have an idea of what the Spanish flu was all about. So we were not prepared how to handle this. We were caught unawares in terms of how to manage this challenge. As individuals, as human beings, we were all shut up within the four walls of our houses. We did not know what to do because we were all used to a life where we had to go out to work or to go out to college, school, wherever. We had our own commitments. Suddenly we were holed up within the four walls of our apartments without the world around us in a standstill. There was negativity all around. We were hearing of the pandemic spreading far and like wildfire. We were at a loss. The human civilization was at a loss. We were grappling for survival. We did not know how to survive and live in this uncertain world. We were looking for one ray of light. And gradually we started seeing that scientists from across the world started working nearly 48 hours in a 24 hours work schedule to develop something which we now call a vaccine. But when all this was happening in April and May, there was no vaccine in sight. So we did not know what was in store for the existence of this human civilization. Were we all going to perish? How do we live our lives? People were struggling to make both ends meet. Markets were closed. They were open for 1 hour. People had to move around in masks and hand sanitizers. They did not know. They were wearing gloves. They were wearing headgears. They did not know where the virus is going to hit them from. So this was a context. This actually set the context for the organizations to revisit their processes. Because what are organizations? Organizations are nothing but a collection of human beings brought under the umbrella or an ecosystem with rules, with processes, with policies to achieve a common goal. It is a system which encompasses human individuals to come together for a common objective of the organization, and also in the process to satisfy individual goals. So organization is a living entity. So organizations is like a living organism, like we as human beings, we collectively make an organization. So the organizations are confronted with a challenge which they never thought were coming their way. It was not the thing of transitioning from, say, an IT system to another IT system where there is a blackout for a particular period of time or a particular day. It's a threat or a crisis which was questioning our basic existence. So under that context, organizations also grappled for solutions. Organizations did not know whether they'd survive the next month because organizations were shut and shut en masse. Barring the healthcare industry, which has been working tirelessly to keep us all alive. The doctors, the paramedics, the nurses, the frontline workers, every other industry came to a standstill. The railway lines of this country did not see a single train moving. The skies were empty, no flights were flying. We did not know whether we'll keep our jobs because companies were announcing layoffs, companies were announcing closures because they were unable to make both ends meet. Fixed operating expenses of companies were going up. They had to pay their salaries to employees. Then came the crisis. Companies started saying, we are stopping salaries for next 3 months. We are cutting down salaries. People lost their jobs in dimes and dozens. So there was gloom, there was disappointment, there was despondency all around us. So under that sort of a context, where the industry was at a loss in terms of how to survive, how to exist, and how to sustain, when there was uncertainty about sustainability of organizations, continuity of organizations, and organizations were there for 100 years, 70 years, 80 years, not organizations were born 5 years back. The challenge came on the business leaders in terms of how do we ensure, at least for next 1 year, when we started getting some line of sight about vaccines being developed, ways and means of tackling this pandemic, is lockdown an option or is calibrated lockdown an option? When experts across the world, virologists, the World Health Organization, were all discussing and deliberating, the organizations also started regrouping themselves and thinking that, okay, first, let's keep our employees safe. So the organization's first call of the duty at that point in time was to ensure that all its employees, wherever they were, because employees all couldn't come back to their homes. Employees who were in places where their assignments took them, be it a project, be it that's a place of posting, they could not come back. They got stuck. So there was a stress and tension of employees staying away from home, where their relatives, where their near and dear ones were thinking about how is that employee going to exist, how his or her family going to survive, and the tension of their own selves or their own relatives or own immediate family members back in their hometown. So it was very important for organizations to give that caring and that comforting environment to their employees. So what did organizations do? An organization like ours, which is about 2,000 odd employees, and we are dispersed across various locations, starting from far down in Jammu and Kashmir to northeast, to very far-flung places where we have our projects. It's not always in Calcutta or Delhi that most of our employees are placed. We have places, a single employee existing in a place called Banerjee in Rajasthan. We have a single employee staying in a place called Duliajan in the northeast, in Assam. So, but their relatives and their own family were maybe somewhere else. So how do they survive? Can they go out to draw money from an ATM? Banks were getting dry. ATMs were not getting filled up. So banks also started recalibrating their services. Cash started coming into the ATMs so people could draw money. So what did we do as an organization? We got into the technology platform, what we are using today, Microsoft Teams. We started using Zoom and started talking to our people, talking to them, the business leaders, HR. It's not only an HR exercise. Let me tell you, friends, When the pandemic was at its peak, the entire organization rallied for each other. It was an exhibition of camaraderie, exhibition of collaboration where people got together to support each other. It was not only HR. So if people like from HR take the credit, I don't as an HR head of a company take the credit. It's all of us in this organization, in our organization, where we rallied around each other, held our hands with each other to survive and see that this pandemic doesn't hit us. That's exactly what we did. We reached out to employees, we consoled them, we comforted them, we spoke to their families, and we tried to give them every form of support through our customers who are at their location to ensure that they stay safe, they get their adequate supply of food grains, rations, so that they survive the basics. We're not talking about luxuries, we're talking about basic existence of human beings. So the basic necessities of life had to be met. So why this was a journey where people started working with each other. Now technology started playing a huge facilitator in making people connect with each other. People started talking to each other on this technology platform, be it a Zoom, be it Microsoft Teams, be it any other platform, be it on the Google. So everybody had their own technology platforms to interact with people. I never thought that I would be addressing a group of people of Calcutta Business School. I will not drive down all the way past IIM Joka, go to your lovely campus and talk to you in person and do it on a virtual platform. So things had to change all of a sudden. The processes within the organization, people processes, the business processes had to undergo change. People could not go to customer site. From June and July in our organization, we gradually started July, August, when the economy gradually started was opening up in a calibrated manner by the government of India with activities happening. We started reaching out to our customers. We started talking to them in technology platforms. We created customer reach programs. My sales guys, my service people in times of pandemic had to take a risk to travel within the COVID protocol to the customer side to ensure that a machine did not go out of order, because there were some operations still in India, the mining sector, which is operating, and we work in the mining sector. Our customers are there in Eastern Coalfields, Hindustan Zinc. They were continuing mining because coal is an essential product, essential commodity. So under the Essential Commodities Act, they were constantly working. So my employees in a place in Jhanjira, away from Durgapur, were working in a 24/7. So what was the organization doing? Giving them constant support through Eastern Coalfields to ensure that none of them fell sick. We provided all facilities, but at the same time ensured that our customers also survived. If their operations are on, we ensured that their operations were on. So therefore, business processes underwent change. Sales started happening through calls, which we could never imagine. A salesperson not traveling to a customer premise, talking face to face to a customer and selling a particular feature of a product or selling a functionality or service was not happening. The salespeople are feeling restless because they are used to being on the roads and going and meeting customers. The excitement of meeting a customer, that was not happening. So we had to undergo a lot of changes in the business process. Our marketing underwent a huge change. The function that I had currently started relying entirely on digital marketing. The offline physical marketing processes had to be withdrawn. We only started our process of doing road shows, customer meets in COVID managed environment only recently from January onwards, where we started talking to customers, bring them together under the same roof in an open space, talking to them about our equipment, reaching out to them. So customer outreach programs typically started happening in a physical mode from January. But what happened from July to January? It was all digital marketing. You use the social media, you use digital platforms. And I can tell you even equipment worth 60 crores are now sold on digital platforms. Cars are being sold on digital platforms. Maruti came out with a figure which said that most of their cars in the period of July to December were sold on digital platform. Could you ever imagine not going into a Maruti showroom or a Hyundai showroom and spending 7, 8, 10 lakhs of your hard-earned money to buy a car without actually seeing and feeling it? you're buying it on a digital platform. So business processes underwent change. The technology leap had to be much faster. People processes underwent huge change. The entire training delivery ecosystem underwent a massive change. In our organization and in many organizations, most of the organizations that I've interacted with or have shared platforms with on seminars or on symposiums like this, they've said that from an instructor-led training, which is basically a classroom face-to-face training where the trainee and the trainer are seeing each other, talking to each other, suddenly became a virtual instructor-led training where everything started happening on the virtual platform. This has happened in the education sector. I'm sure many of my student friends out here are missing out on campus life, because I'll just give you an example from my home. My son is a PhD student in Cornell University in the US. So he teaches a lot of these freshman students who come to Cornell University, the first to the fourth year. He was talking about the stress and strain these students at third and fourth year are going through, the amount of screen time these students have to take, all you guys have to take. It's not a joke. Stuck up in your own homes, within the four walls of your house, you're not experiencing the process of growing up, process of exchanging ideas within the campus, getting into interpersonal conflicts, interpersonal relationship management. So the entire human face of relationship is getting lost. It's all becoming digital. Same thing happened to training. Classes started taking place on the virtual platform. So can classes happen for 6 hours, 8 hours at a stretch, or 1.5 hours also? We started questioning. We started creating nuggets. Our entire lesson plan, which the professors struggle with. I see my friends' wives who are teachers, or friends who are teachers, or professors on the other side of the platform today, have to break down the entire delivery, plan into micro lesson plans and then deliver them. Because students are on the other side, professors on one side, or trainers or trainees on two different platforms, on two different sides of the screen. How is exchange of information, ideas, knowledge taking place? Because I can't see my trainee. I can't see his or her reaction, whether he or she is understanding. The bandwidth is a huge challenge in this country. It's not in the US, I can tell you. I hear it from my son. Their last mile connectivity is fantastic. They don't have connectivity issues. They don't have bandwidth problem. They don't have bufferings. But in India, in spite of all the things that we talk about at technology maturity, how I cross Joka and go to Calcutta Business School, the signal drops. I live in Godiahat. From Godiahat, I go to Salt Lake. By the time I hit, say, Nico Park, the signal drops, call drops. So there's a huge bandwidth issue. In spite of all that, organizations have struggled to continue the process of people development. Like any other organization, we've done it. Our training programs first were running 3 hours, 4 hours. Then we reviewed, said that this is a torture. Let's have nuggets of 90 minutes. Let's give them a break. Let's come back tomorrow. Let's give them the flexibility of time. Because we in India live in a socio-cultural environment where everybody doesn't have a separate room to do their work. People live in one-room flats, two-room flats, where they live in joint families. So if I expect my employees to be constantly logged in and doing their work or attending a training session when they have kids at home, parents at home, there's sound, there's disturbance, there's a technology challenge, I'm being unfair on them. So one had to be much more sensitive. One had to understand the background, the backdrop of and the environment in which the employees were existing. So the companies went through these challenges. Companies demonstrated much more empathy than what they ever thought they would be doing. But yes, a lot of companies also became ruthless, especially in the SME sector, because they couldn't afford to manage their fixed costs. So a lot of people were laid off. People lost jobs. We saw migrant laborers coming down the highways of this country, which was the worst possible sight human civilization in this country has seen, where people are lugging their children, their luggage, their animals, everything. There were no trains, no buses. People were stopped on the highways, looted. It was a pathetic sight for any Indian to see, or any person in the world to see it has happened across the country. There were countries which went on carrying the civil war, be it Yemen, be it Syria, in spite of all this. So human civilization has gone through this huge churn. Now we are gradually coming back. We are gradually recalibrating the industry. We are recalibrating the world. Yes, London had announced lockdown. Europe has announced very severe lockdowns in Ireland, Scotland. America is gradually opening up because you cannot keep a country or a nation or this entire world in a lockdown state. Otherwise, human civilization will become extinct. Economic activity has to come back. The hospitality industry has been very badly hurt. People have lost jobs in the hospitality industry. People have lost jobs in aviation sector. Aviation sector and hospitality are still stretched because it's still the bio bubbles or the countries are operating within the agreements where they have only the national carriers flying from one country to the other. The aviation industry is still struggling to meet their both ends meet. Airlines like Emirates have laid off people, one of the richest airlines in the world. The biggest of hotel chains have laid off people. But is that the solution? Certainly not. Companies have also exhibited the resilience, the strength to keep all their employees. We as an organization, I'm proud to say, at Gainwell, which was formerly known as Tractors India Private Limited, we said as a principle, we will not ask any of our employees to go. We will not ask any of our employees to go. We took a salary hit for 6 months till the month of September. We restored all the salaries from 1st of October. We've paid everything, performance bonus, all their dues. Yes, we withheld the increments of 2020 based on the performance of 2019, but we will compensate for it in 2021. We are very clear on that. And we also intend to return the deducted salary sometime during this year when the cash flow improves. So as an organization, we said that we believe in our people, we exist for our people, and we are there because our people are there. A lot of organizations have done this. We are not unique. We are just not unique. But companies had to stand by their organizations in these times of existential crisis. So I talked about this change in the style of training and development, and that's going to continue. That's going to continue even in days to come, because till the world comes back to its normalcy, which they are saying is not going to happen in the near future, the loom of COVID is still going to be there, but with vaccines available, be it from the Pfizer, be it from AstraZeneca, be it from Moderna, Bharat Biotech, wherever, Sputnik, people at least have an, certificate of assurance, something to look forward to take a jab and be immune to infection. So therefore, there is more positivity in an environment. Countries have opened up. As a nation, we've also opened up. We are seeing economic activity gradually coming back. The economic mood of this country is better than most of the other countries. The ratings given by the rating agencies or even the World Bank and the other international agencies, IMF, is not as bad as it's talking about Europe and the US or other parts of the world. Yes, obviously, it will not see the pre-COVID growth rate. Anyway, in India, pre-COVID growth rates were also nothing very encouraging. So we've got nothing to say that in pre-COVID days we're growing at 10 to 12%. We were not. The GDP was growing at a pretty conservative growth rate, even with the new government coming in 2019. So nothing much had changed. But yes, pandemic has taken us a few years back, but we're going to gradually come back. A lot of economic activity are gradually coming back to shape. People are going back to work. Today, I'm having a day off because I'm working from home Tuesday. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, I work from office, and that's the way our employees have started attending office. From April, most of us will be back to work, because now I'm coming to an area where companies need to focus on employee engagement. In today's world, I heard Shubhendu talking about Harvard Business Review or McKinsey studies, which talks about alienation of employees. Employees are human beings, they're social beings. They want to be with their colleagues because they enjoy that social ecosystem. Suddenly, they're taken away from it, and they're not communicating with each other, they're not seeing each other. So there's uncertainty. Is my job there? Am I still wanted? Because organizations have revisited their business processes. So under the new environment, Will I be required? Or it can be done from somewhere, anywhere, or by technology. So we had to lay a lot of emphasis on keeping our employees together. So during the pandemic, all our employee engagement events, be it the celebration of Diwali, be it the celebration of Independence Day, our own, what should I say, we call it the Rejuvenation Day on 24th of June, which we call Punar Bhava. We all did it on a virtual platform, and employees, families participated. We had virtual celebration of Children's Day, where employees' children participated in painting competitions, and everything happened virtually. On Rangoli competitions, Diwali, we had people celebrating with their families, performing. So people were constantly engaged. They never felt alienated from the organization, and the families also felt this organization is actually thinking about us. And that's going to continue. Even this year, we've planned a lot of events on the virtual platform, because it will take some time for people to assemble together. Though I'm seeing in political gatherings, no such things are happening, be it at Brigade Parade Ground or anywhere in this country, be it in Assam, Puducherry, Bengal. Our political leaders take human beings for granted, civilians. So there is no social distancing, physical distancing, or masking or sanitization. But we as responsible organizations cannot afford to do that. We have to be very careful about the health and safety of our employees. Therefore, we're still going to concentrate on having employee engagement activities on a virtual platform, at least for next 6 to 9 months. So as you're seeing that I am not going to talk about only about HR in the or managing people. I'm not going to talk about HR. It's managing people in the post-pandemic era. And therefore, keeping them engaged, keeping them involved, giving them a sense of assurance, caring. This is a time where the organization needs to demonstrate their value of caring for their employees. The performance management processes will undergo change. They'll be much more driven on the technology platform. But then people will need to engage with each other in performance conversations or dialogues across the technology platform to set their goals, to set their objectives, and also have their objectives re-evaluated. And this goal setting and re-evaluation will happen for short terms, for 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, depending on the nature of the operations of the organization. Because employees, when they're dispersed, they need to have a constant feedback from the organization as to how he or she is doing. With that enables him or her to take corrective measures about getting onto a right track, which when you're back in the organization, you're sitting with your boss, you're meeting with him, it's a day-to-day process. It happens over a cup of tea, over a cup of coffee in the cafeteria, or even in a structured manner. But when you're in a virtual environment, there are companies which have said we are not going to be back in office till April, June. Our business partner Caterpillar globally have said our employees will be at home or working out of home till July. So work from home has become the new normal. We used to often say that let's work from home, it'll be fun. Friends, it's not fun. Studying from home is not fun. Work from home is not fun. It can get onto you. So we have to get our employees back to work. It's not that efficiency is going down. Some of the organizations reported higher efficiency, but companies do not have discipline of screen time. There are companies who are very sensitive. There are companies who said they're Friday, no meetings, Wednesday, no meetings. Most of the companies, especially in Indian context, don't believe in it. Their meetings go until 8:30, 9. Just because you're at home, you're expected to attend a meeting at 9 o'clock. So as supervisors, as bosses, we need to be sensitive about people. Just because they're at home, they're not expected to work till 12 o'clock in the night. So one has to be much more sensitive to our colleagues, to the rest of the organization, in figuring out what is the work from home protocol is all about. Establish well-defined protocol and adhere to it with commitment. That's very, very important in the post-COVID era. And managing people, people are in a state of uncertainty. People are uncertain about how the organizations are going to evolve and shape. Will the structure of the organizations change? Because the only inevitability which I called is a hybrid model of organizations that's going to exist, which I called the phygital model, the physical plus digital model. And the phygital model, how is the structure going to look? In the new structure, What are the competencies which are required to be capable to deliver in the new structure? So we might have to retrain people, reskill people to exist and deliver productively in the new normal environment. So we are actually going to deal with people who have, it's a young generation, it's a middle-aged generation and the old generation who have experienced this entire pandemic and have responded to it in different ways. No point feeling despondent. No point feeling that the world has come to an end, because I have seen a lot of people. I was talking to Professor Mayam Indore. She was telling me that during the COVID days, she got desperate calls from her students, from parents of students who are getting into depression, who are getting into a zone of uncertainty. People have gone into substance abuse. People have taken their lives. That's not a solution, my friends. That's not how the world will be a sustainable, will not ensure a sustainable existence. We have to live, but live in a world where the processes will undergo change, where the ways of working will undergo change, our social behavior will undergo change. So managing people in the post-pandemic era, people are people. They will not change. They are human beings. The human software will not change. That's embedded. So people will continue to be with emotions, people will continue with feelings, people will continue to have pains, people will continue to have pleasures. But then how do I manage these emotions? How do I manage their ambitions, their aspirations in the post-pandemic environment is a challenge for leaders. It's not only HR. Any business leader is an HR leader. So I, as an HR leader, never say that I'm responsible for the people of the organization. No, I am basically a enabler to the business. So business leaders have to take this onus of rallying around their people, giving them that assurance, revisiting the processes to ensure that the organizational efficiency is sustained. Business is not affected. To give you an example, our organization at time between July to December, touchwood, we did 2019 numbers, which most of the companies did not do. Because we work in a sector which is infrastructure driven. We are in the mining, we are in infrastructure building. We work with Caterpillar equipment. So we see the huge bust of investments, especially by the government of India, in ramping up the infrastructure sector of this country, which they feel will generate employment, which in turn they feel is going to generate demand, because they didn't give money to the hands of the people to generate demand, because the school of thought which says that in such crisis times, if you give money, they save, they don't spend it, which has happened in the US. US had given a lot of benefit to the people in terms of money. Money came into their accounts, but did people spend? Not necessarily, because people are worried about the future. They save that money. So therefore, government in India has been spending a lot in boosting up infrastructure spends, and that has helped us, organizations like ours, to do much better than many other organizations who are still suffering or struggling to reboot their business back to normalcy. So therefore, it's very, very important that we, across the ecosystem of the business, be it in public sector, be it in private sector, have the next 18 to 24 months, revisit our organizational processes, ask certain basic questions that when people are working from home, was my organization suffering in terms of efficacy of the processes, efficiency of the processes, productivity? If not, then what are the changes that I need to make? In order to make the change, do I have to reskill, retrain people? Or maybe, I'm not saying you don't have to lay off people. You might have to take a hard decision because you got to create smarter, leaner, agile organization, because you never know whether another pandemic will hit you in another 15 years, 10 years time. So agility will be the call of the day. Agility of the organizations is going to be one of the critical parameters to ensure organizational success. Therefore, it's very, very important that when you manage people in the post-pandemic era, you have to ensure that you're always on the toes, you are up to speed with change, because as Shubhendu was talking about, that change is the only constant, and change has hit us so badly on our face, we did not expect this change. We need to be ready for any sort of change. Therefore, it's very, very imperative that we are agile and ready to confront any change. And therefore, people have also got to be made ready and agile to manage that change. So I would end my deliberations out here. I'm open to questions because I could have otherwise gone on and on this because I think what I've experienced the last from April to as of today, I think my 30 years of professional life has not taught me that. So I need not thank pandemic for it, because pandemic is something which you need not thank about. But then it's a blessing in disguise that this crisis has taught all of us on this digital platform, many of us, to revisit our lives, to rethink and reshape and recalibrate our lives. Why are we here? What are we doing? Introspect, which you hardly got time to do, and think about ourselves. So I think with the post-pandemic, let's get back fresh into our lives, be it our personal life, professional lives, and start looking at life in a positive way, and be always agile and ready to counter change. Over to you, Shubhendu.
Thank you, sir. What can I say? I really mesmerized with your deliberation, so spontaneous and lively. Basically, I think our students are enlightened, and obviously they should have some question in their mind, which normally we, in different subject, we cover under human resource management, behavioral science, applied psychology, industrial psychology, this part. But your deliberation and this thought-provoking lecture is so nice. You have covered many areas that this pandemic situation, it is something new, drastic, which was not actually anyone was prepared for. So it was not experienced earlier, and it was a panic-stricken situation. One fine morning, people came to know what is lockdown. We don't know, few terms in our dictionary, live dictionary came, that is distancing, lockdown. Actually, the mask and sanitizer, though available in the market, but it was not tuned with our lifestyle. Only actually this pandemic came to know us that how to be hygienic, etc. These are having some positive impact also in our lifestyle. So you have come across some of the lectures which are very good perspective, which is that these organizations are having facing a problem. I have developed a model from your lecture that we can introduce to the student. It is a EPO. That means you are saying about the ecosystem. It needs to be connected with the people management, and now with organizational objective. So objective, that normally we know the Peter Drucker's concept of the MBO, management by objective, where the ecosystem driven employees or people needs to be connected with the objective. So it is one very good effort that we have identified. So it is now you know that I was astonished that what you have touched, that last March till almost in the month of November, December, there was no, in the railway track, it was there, every station it is looks like dark. I was thinking there was airport, but there was no flight on the sky. So therefore there was different uncertainties came, we don't know what is the situation. So actually the industry having heavy loss, every people are in uncertainty. The challenges to business leaders, it is not basically the HR problem, that is a very significant contribution in this perspective, that it is not an HR issue. It is basically the entire business where the society, the technology, it is connected, so new avenues generated. Pandemic, it is not only the problem, but it is actually a collaborative issue, and where to get rid of the situation, we need a good collaboration and calibrating this management situation to get rid of this situation perspective. I was studying, I just mentioned in the beginning of the session that I was studying from the Harvard Business Review or Harvard. They are having different research work. They have done more than 80 stories and research work where they have concentrated basically on these people management, strategy, organization structure, and design. The similar thing I get from McKinsey also. They are most of the articles they are covering in that perspective. So that's why I do feel that people management, managing people, it is an important perspective. You have touched this part that the salespeople, they are not, their definition of their selling proposition has changed. They can't get their physical evidence, physical platform to sell their product, depend on that is in offline, it is not offline, online marketing generated. So introduction of new avenues came, and basically there is another perspective in the employment perspective. There is a stress and strain, it develops gradually. Now till date it is continuing. I have seen that you have told already that in the hospitality it is badly affected. There is aviation industry, they are till date they are struggling. You have mentioned the Emirates, their cases, and companies they are trying to resilience to these challenges, and by uh, that is a problem which is come from the alienation of the employees. So organization they needs to reorganize their business process. So it is also very significant that we have celebrated this last 1 year different celebrations online. So our life is becoming captive within this online framework. Now from the managing people side, from your lecture, what I have heard, what I have learned also, that is we need caring. It is an emotional touch, emotional competence is required as a part of emotional labor also. The new performance management scheme for the human resource perspective, people engagement, and also the part of human values. Many organizations, they are also giving all the facilities, all types of services to their employees. It is a part of human values, business ethics as well, and needs to be actually reorganized. The definition of the people management, we learned many things from your lecture, and it is basically a sensitizing a new situation and connecting the business environment as well. So I am really thankful. I will listen to my students. I think students, it is open to you. I think you are having some questions, so you can raise your question in the chat box, then I can connect.
Shobhendu, there are quite a few questions. There's a question from Monomita which says that what assurance do we need to provide to the facilities to get safety at work? Monomita, different organizations actually have approached in a different way. Every organization, based on the guidelines of the Ministry of Home and Ministry of Family and Child Welfare, have created very strict COVID protocols in terms of deep cleansing their facilities, providing, having sanitizers at various locations in their offices, then having thermal guns to check, tie up with the hospitals for COVID treatment if required, increase the insurance coverage for COVID treatment for themselves and their families. So various companies have taken various measures, and it depends on also the approach the organization have towards its employees. But in this crisis times, all organizations have tried to come to the help of their employees whenever they have sought for that help, or whenever any employee has suffered from COVID. In fact, we unfortunately lost 2 of our employees in COVID, and what we have decided is to provide employment to their immediate dependent children or spouse whoso is eligible. So companies are coming forward, and companies are ensuring a COVID-free environment, because the moment you have COVID in your facility, you will shut down your facility. So it doesn't make sense for the organization to be careless about maintaining a hygienic and a clean environment. I hope I could answer your question.
Yeah.
Yes,
We are having next question, that is the Pritha Sharkar. After the pandemic gets over, how you think change will happen, and what new things the organization will face?
A lot of things will change, Pritha, in terms of business processes. As I said, will undergo change, because in the pandemic times, the way organizations have operated and functioned on the digital platform, you might have certain processes or functions of the organization which till date were done more physically by in-person presence of employees in the workplace might get into a digital or a electronic mode. So, and you might have you might have processes which may only require 4 hours of work, and people usually attend office for 8 hours. So can you have a form of employment where an employee, you start creating a gig economy where I'm employed by the organization from 9 to 1 in the organization and I deliver my work. From 2 to 6, I work for Shubhendu's organization. So you might have multiple relationships of employer-employee. That might happen because there may be certain processes whereby in 3 hours time I can do my work and I can say sayonara and walk out of the organization premise, which till now was a full day's work. You used to hang around in the office, you used to go to the cafeteria, go to your colleague's room and do some chit chat, gossip about what happened in the IPL last night or whether the latest Netflix movie Drishyam was good on Amazon or something like that. So that's not going to happen. So you might have multiple employer-employee relationships, processes will undergo change, and yes, organization structures also might undergo change. Rita, does that satisfy you? Because in the paucity of time, I think I had to just summarize.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Thank you, sir, for thank you, sir.
We have many questions. We will take only a few. So another question is, how do we respect the concern of those who ordinarily rely on public transport? Actually, our intention is to say, if somebody is coming public transport instead of her own or his own, then how do I feel that?
Who's asked this
question? It is
question?
Irrelevant. Nilam Kumari.
Nilam, good evening. Thank you for asking this question. Yes, that's a challenge. In fact, I'll tell you what we as an organization have done. Many organizations couldn't have afforded it, but we could afford it. We provided in the south part of Calcutta 2 vehicles because every employee was not coming every day. So there was a duty roster which was created, and we said that these 2 vehicles will travel down from Salt Lake, Setil, Godia, and pick up people from the various departments who are supposed to come on a particular day, and rosters were created according to that. And similarly in the northern side. But yes, a lot of companies who have said that if they don't want employees, we also don't encourage our employees. We were not encouraging, say from 1st of March, since the public transport has opened up to a large extent, we are saying that yes, but we are not saying that you have to reach office at 9 o'clock. We are giving the flexibility of time so that they can come late, leave early, as long as they do their work. But we are keeping the offices open. We are not keeping any attendance, log-in, log-out time so that they can come early when the transport is a bit less crowded, leave early when the transport is crowded, if they're availing public transport. So we're giving that flexibility, but then life has to move on, Nilam. We cannot be holed up in our rooms. So therefore, yeah, it's I would say educated, calculated risk that we have taken, but touch wood, till date, the number of we haven't had any cases where people have caught pandemic, and happily in the state of West Bengal there's been no deaths for the last 24 hours, and even number of incidents in this country are going down. So hopefully even public transport will be back to its normal shape.
We have another question from Shweta Vishwas. What will be the new protocol in pandemic era? That you have already covered.
Protocol will be, yes, you got to do on even in the office where we work, we insist on in the open spaces as much as possible wear your masks, as sanitization points are there across various positions of the organization. We've provided sanitizers to our employees. Then health checkup, then those thermal guns. So those will be at least there for some time to come, till this world is confident that we can fight pandemic and vaccination happens, and 130 crores in this country is not going to happen very fast, but then at least even 50% of the population is covered, then you've largely taken care of herd immunity and taken care of your possibility of infection. So those and social distancing, physical, I wouldn't use the word social distancing, because social distancing means people going away from each other. It's physical distancing that we should be a bit more careful about. These are the protocols which we'll have to follow even in our personal lives.
So another quite related question on the key lessons of the organizations during this crisis time that we learned.
Key lessons.
Kumari.
Yeah, key lessons the organizations have learned, which first and foremost is you have to be agile to change. You're prepared for any unforeseen change that may hit you on the face. No organization across the world was prepared for this sort of a change. So one thing any organization has developed into its system, into its culture, into its attitude, into its basic existence is being agile to change, being always on your toes, be one step ahead of change. So you've got to constantly innovate. Innovation will be the call of the day. Constantly innovate to review your process, to review your product, to review your services, so that anytime something hits you, you are ready at least to confront the change. We never thought of selling equipment on a digital platform. We always thought that it has to be bought by seeing and feeling a machine, 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, 40 lakhs, but people are buying machines even on a digital platform. So agility is the biggest thing. Concern for employees. Be sensitive to human emotions, human physical being. I think these are the two things which innovation, agility, and concern for people.
Very good. So, sir, for this context, I am also interested on this emotion that I have already touched, that how do we measure that emotional dissonance, this part that people are working physically and work from home. If we need to measure, that will be a prospective research work also, that in industry wise it can be a different type of result can be explained also, that for which we will be in touch with you for your, not only we will give only one lecture and we will say you goodbye. We will be connected with you for the development of our student, including myself also. I am also a learner from you. So
We learn from
next
each other.
question.
We all learn from each other.
Yeah. Nidhi Chauhan has asked a different question from her side, that if somebody is going to start a business, a startup business, what actually the possible suggestions from your side to them, or in this managing workplace in the new pandemic era, what the tips from your side? You are the expert.
Nidhi, a very, very interesting question, especially in the light of our Prime Minister's Atmanirbhar Bharat, where he's encouraging startups to take place, their incubation cells. Very, very interesting question. One is to leverage technology to the maximum. Please leverage technology. Build a culture of learning, innovation, agility in your company. Encourage people to experiment. Encourage people to make mistakes. Because unless you allow people to make mistakes, they will never evolve. They'll never innovate anything. Yes, I know in a startup business, you cannot afford too many mistakes, but then don't stifle innovation in business. Be very caring to your employees, as I said, any form, be it a startup or a non-startup business, mature business. And you might get into various forms of employment model. Don't be averse to gig economy people. Gig economy people are freelancers, people whom you may like to engage only for 4 hours in a day, because you get their productive output in 4 hours, they can go and work somewhere else. So create small, mentally fit and physically, what should I say, physically fit organization, where people are willing to take risks, innovate, and be always open to change. But create a small crack team. In a startup state, you cannot create a huge organization that adds to your cost. So create people who are fast on their thinking, who are open to change, and who are open to various forms of employment models. So don't always think that employment is going to go for life. Employment maybe only you can give them a project, you can give them a employment which is 4 hours in a day, because even the employees are thinking at recalibrating their employee life cycle. Why should I be wedded to an organization for 30 years? Because the young generation is thinking differently. I want to work for 6 months, I want to go for hiking for next 6 months, or I want to work for an NGO for 6 months. But be an organization which is socially conscious, have social values, because in today's world, people want to work for organizations which are socially conscious.
Very good. There is also another question.
Welcome.
Suankar Shanal, he has asked that how do we counsel people to attend physical and mental health in workplace? Workplace counseling.
Okay, that's going to play a very, very important role. I missed your name.
Suvankar Shannal.
Shubhankar, that interesting question. Companies are doing it. They are getting their people, they're engaging with counselors, professional counselors, because a lot of employees need this support. Because you would have seen even a lot of these, what should I say, domestic violences have increased because of this, and it's happened in the United States of America. The cases of domestic violence, cases of divorce, cases of family conflict, marital conflict has happened. People are going to a lot of stress and strain under the same roof for 24 hours into more or less nearly 365 days now. So a lot of companies have engaged with professional counselors to talk to people and counsel them. Physical, yes, a lot of companies already have physical fitness clubs and those sort of things where you engage people in yogas, other training sessions, which were there. They have to be continued. But yes, psychological counseling is something which a lot of companies are doing it on a regular basis now, which they used to do only once in a while.
Very good. Another student, Prabhanjan Mukherjee, asked a different question. What type of new businesses can be commenced after this pandemic?
That's a googly on Ahmedabad wicket. So that depends on what you want to do, because online education can be one.
Yeah.
Byju's is going all over the world. You can see the amount of venture capital funding Byju's have gone over the last 1 year. People in the academic world would have seen in terms of animation-based teaching and those sort of things. Online education can be one. Online counseling can be one. I never thought of these, but then they may be quite interesting ones, because people are doing a lot of things. In fact, online tourism has also happened. With staying at home, people are giving you a trip of Egypt because they can't physically go to Egypt. I was seeing in CNN, there's a company which was in travel and tourism. They were losing finance. So there are families who are booking a 1-day trip of Egypt or 2-day trip. So they are seeing Egypt virtually, the pyramids, the Sphinx, and the virtual boat ride on the Nile River, or visit to Alexandria port. Just imagine, these sort of things are also happening. A lot of people have taken to bakery. A lot of people have learned cookery on YouTube, and people have become specialty chefs. So cooking out of home. Interesting question, but then since I didn't think about it, I just gave you some offhand ideas which came to my mind. Maybe we can engage in a much more meaningful conversation later.
Yeah. So Pragya, are you here? Pragya Devnath in the meeting?
Yes. Yes, sir.
So you have written your conclusion about impression about the session. So can you come online and say to sir, what is your feeling about this session?
Yes, sir. It was like I have as written in the chat box. It was really an amazing session, and the topic, managing people in post-pandemic era. We have really got to learn about employee management part. Being empathetic is the key role. Is and actually people management was there before pandemic, but this time this is very important to be in their situation, to be in employee situation, and the way you have explained it, like the key points, exactly what we need to do, like the business, the scope of the business, the culture of the organization, how is being changed. That was really amazing, sir. And I think after, like, my fellow mates and my seniors also got to know about these points, and that's it, sir. Thank you for amazing session, and hope to hear you soon more and more.
Thank you, Pragya. So we are almost at the frag end of our session. So it is a customary and it is a general duty of the moderator at the end to extend vote of thanks. So basically, I will not actually extend my thanks. I will welcome Mr. Sujoy Banerjee to our CBS campus. So it is basically not a vote of thanks. It is a welcome address for the students only. But it is mandatory to say something about at the end of the session. So on behalf of all of my colleague, principal, our core committee members, my colleague, and also my officer staff on behalf of Calcutta Business School, I like to express my sincere appreciation, thanks, gratitude for your excellent deliberation of today's session. And I think that in future also our students will be enlightened with your such lecture and such session. So you are most welcome to our Calcutta Business School campus. And with this, we will end our session today. And in this session, we need to mention those who have supported a lot to our administrative department, our technical departments, admission department, the other staffs and our most beloved students, those who have contributed a lot to arrange such session. So my thanks, best wishes and regards to all of you. So today we will end of our session. It is a very fruitful and very thought-provoking session. From there we have learned a lot and we will get back to you again, sir. When we need, we will ask your support and such knowledgeable session again in near future. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Shubhendu. Thank you to all my friends out here. Wish you all a very safe and a much better 2021 so that all of us get back to our normal lives, even with the threat of pandemic all around us. But then let's take our vaccinations, let's stay safe, and let's recalibrate our lives back to normalcy. Let's all be happy. Let's not lose hope on life.
Thank you, sir. You stay safe, healthy, and we will meet again, sir. Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaskar.
Namaskar.